Hello and welcome to Mansion Interviews, a podcast that improves your listening comprehension while at the same time giving me an excuse to talk to some really interesting people. Today I'm really excited to be talking to Jack Askew, who is originally from the UK. He now lives in the US and he's doing some really amazing things online with teachers and with students of English. Don't forget that you can improve your listening with comprehension questions and find some help with difficult words from this interview at inglespodcast.com/Jack, Jack. So, Jack, welcome to the podcast, and thank you very much for your time today. How are you doing?
Doing great, yeah. Thank you, Craig, for having me here.
Originally, you're from Lancashire, but I'm not sure which part. Is it like the Leeds area? Where did you grow up? Where's your accent from?
It's from a place called Preston, it's about 30 miles north of Manchester. And even though those places are quite close, the accent's quite different. Well, it is to my ears anyway.
Do you think your accent has changed over the years since you've been teaching?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had a couple of years in Spain. I went traveling for a while. I've been in America for 6 years. And being an English teacher means that you're always thinking about what you say. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be double for me because I'm in the US. And therefore, I have to be more conscious about my pronunciation, what I say, the words I use, so that people actually, understand what I'm saying. So my accent has definitely changed over the years.
I know you're into football. Do you want to plug your football team? Who do you support? I know you follow them from over there in the US, but I can't remember.
I do. I follow Preston North End. So support my hometown team. It's where I grew up. And the difficulty is they're not on TV a lot, although they're going to be on TV this Saturday. So I'm going to make sure that I actually watch them, because when they're on TV, I have to stop whatever I'm doing to watch them, because it's quite rare.
You used to work in the UK, you used to work in marketing, is that right, when you left university?
That's right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you refused a promotion when you were working for a marketing company to go traveling. Is that true?
It is.
Did you know then that you wanted to be your own boss? Was that one of the reasons why you turned down that opportunity?
I think it was more the fact that, two reasons. It was in my hometown in Preston, and all of my friends had either moved to Manchester or London or moved abroad somewhere. And I only had a few friends who were still in Preston. So I knew that if I had accepted that promotion, I probably would have just stayed in that company for a long time and stayed in that situation. And also, when I was at university, I just got this urge to go traveling, but I had no money to go traveling. So I thought I'd work for a couple of years, save up some money, and then go. And it was about 2 years after leaving university and starting that job when they offered me that promotion. And if I'd taken it, then I probably wouldn't have gone traveling for a long time, because I would have probably stayed in that company, got another promotion, and then it would have been hard to leave. So it just seemed like the right time to decline that and to do something else instead.
Do you have any regrets?
No, nothing to do with that. No, none at all. It was perfect timing for everything.
So you traveled in Ecuador, I know that, but which other Latin American countries did you visit on that trip?
Yeah, so I actually started in Boston and spent about 7 weeks in America. Then I flew to Ecuador from Texas. And then I went to Colombia, Bolivia, Peru, Chile, Argentina, and Brazil.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you also then, after that trip, came to Spain for a couple of years. And I knew you were in Bilbao, but I recently learned you also spent some time in Valencia. What are your most vivid memories, your clearest memories, good or bad, about your 2 years in Spain?
I had such a good time. again, seems like a theme already, but the timing was perfect because I had met my wife in Ecuador, and then we needed a place to go because she's American, I'm British, and she ended up getting the scholarship to teach in Spain. She was placed in Bilbao for the first year. Valencia was our first choice, but she was placed in Bilbao. We got married.
English?
Yeah, she was teaching English. There's a program, Auxiliares de Conversación, I think. Mm-hmm. It's a very popular program that Americans go on. It's not paid well. It's meant for people straight out of college to get a stipend and, to party and to have fun in Spain while teaching English. And the second year, she was placed in a small town in the Basque Country. So we ended up getting married anyway. And then that meant that we could go to Valencia. But the memories of Valencia are mainly walking through the park with our dog, cycling through the park as well, and then just having late nights in great, small, funky bars in the old town.
That sounds like Valencia. How long were you here in total in Valencia?
About a year in total.
So you worked here too? You taught English here?
Yeah, I taught. I don't know if you know it, at the Kent Institute.
No, I don't know. It rings a bell, kind of vaguely, but I don't know it very well. But that's crazy, man. That we were both here at the same time when we didn't get to meet, and we were both teaching English here. Was it 2010?
2010, yeah, 2009 to 2010.
Oh, that's a shame. It's a shame we missed each other.
I know. We probably bumped into each other.
Probably in one of those bars somewhere at some point.
Yeah. I don't know if you know the bar Le Meta. It's a tiny bar.
In Barrio del Carmen.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
It's known for language exchanges, and they have happy hour for cocktails. And I'm still good friends with, we speak online with Lucia, who's the owner of the bar. And we haven't been back since. We left in 2010 and we haven't been back. We went to Barcelona last year, but we're just itching to get back to Valencia because it's the perfect city for me. It's manageable. There's so much going on. You've got the beach. You've got the old town. It's just a great city.
When your children are a little bit older, you'll have to come back and we'll have a paella together.
Love to do that. Yeah.
So now you're based in a place I hadn't heard of, Asheville, is it, in North Carolina?
Yeah, Asheville.
What's been the most difficult thing to get used to about living in the States?
The first thing that comes to mind is probably the health insurance. Mm-hmm. And especially because it's got so expensive recently, where when we first got here, we were paying probably like $50 a month for terrible health insurance. And then it went up to $250 and then $500 and then $700. And then this year, although we've changed policies, they quoted us $1,200 a month. Wow. And because most people get their health insurance from their business, from where they work. And I'm self-employed. My wife is taking a year off because we just had a kid. She's on maternity leave. So we're in that situation where everything just seems to be more expensive. So that was really strange to get used to because your mind frame is different too. When you get sick, you're thinking about how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
So it can be pretty difficult in that sense.
And I guess most people who have jobs with companies or, for example, with language schools, and then they'd get, as part of the package, they'd get their health insurance included in America. Yeah.
And because businesses get discounts because they... Especially when you think about the school system, which my wife was in, they're getting health insurance for so many people that they get huge discounts because the insurance companies want those big contracts. So therefore, they get the huge discounts. If you're getting it as an individual or a family, it's really expensive.
Did you and your wife ever consider settling in Spain? I know it's not easy for American citizens to get work visas in Europe, but was that a consideration at any point?
Yeah, it was. My wife actually got a visa because I'm British or European, I guess, to the Spanish, and my wife could live there legally as a resident through me. So we did consider it. We definitely considered it, but we just had this urge to either move to the UK or the US. And we decided on the US mainly because there were so many cities that we got excited about. We thought about New York. We thought about Asheville, where we live, Portland, Austin, Texas, somewhere in California. And there just seemed to be these different options, which all sounded really exciting to us.
Yeah, I totally get that. They sound exciting to me sitting here in Valencia, so definitely. We mentioned before, we spoke a little about you being self-employed. So your website, teachingeslonline.com, that's where you help teachers to take control of their teaching and their lives. And I think, in my opinion, Jack, you're doing a wonderful thing to do this.
Thank you.
It reminds me of, what's that expression? When you teach a man to fish or something, he feeds the whole village.
Give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man to fish. I can't finish it.
And you're feeding for a lifetime.
It's something like that. Yeah.
I'll put that in the show notes, which will be, by the way, at inglespodcast.com/Jack. That's JACK, if you want to do the comprehension questions for this interview. So, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime, which, if you're helping teachers be more prolific and have more control over their teaching online, then that then filters down to the students. So it becomes like this pyramid of enabling teachers to become more effective, in fact. But one thing occurs to me, and I don't know if you're going to agree with this, but in my experience, teachers aren't famous for being up to date with technology. Is this a problem when it comes to making the transition from face-to-face classroom teaching to teaching online? Do you have problems with the technology with teachers who are learning with you?
Yeah, a lot of people, that's probably one of the number one questions I get when people say, how do you do this? Like, how do you actually give a lesson? What technology should I use? And then people say, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at technology. It doesn't come natural to me. But I always just say, jump on Skype or jump on Zoom, which is a great platform, zoom.us, and invite one of your students onto there and just have a play around with it. It's one of these things, you just have to get used to it. It's like anything. You have to use it to get used to it. And you can, think about the best ways to use it, think about the different things you should use. But once you actually get on there and think about how you can solve problems that your learners have by using this technology. How can you use it to benefit your learners? And that can be in a general sense, or it can be very specific. Some learners just want to have a conversation. Others want to watch a video and to see the words on a page. And that's when you can embed videos in there. That's when you can embed documents. You can embed photos and make the lesson really interactive. You can think about using zoom.us to have 2, 3, 4, 5 learners in the class at once, and to embed the videos. Everyone watches it. They have conversations. You can use the chat box. So for me, it's always a matter of just use it, try it with some of your students, and then see if it's for you or not. Because it's not for everyone. Right, some people don't like it.
That's a very good piece of advice. I'll leave a link to zoom.us in the show notes. They also have it's free for up to 40 minutes. So teachers, if you're listening to this, you can go on and use it. Just send the link to a friend or a couple of students just to give them a free lesson. You've made some very nice training courses, video training courses for English teachers on teaching ESL online. For teachers who are thinking of learning from you how to teach a course to students, or how to connect with students. For example, if they've just finished a CTEFLA course and they want to jump in and start online, what can they expect to find on the course?
Yeah, the course is actually, it started out being about 40 videos, I think. And this went through things like thinking about your niche, who you're going to teach, what you're going to teach, how you're going to teach your lessons online. And that's an important part to start with. But know that this can evolve over time as well, because as you do it, you're going to learn more about you as an online teacher, what kind of students you like working with, what area of English you like working with too. It then goes through all the software and the different tools and resources you're going to need and how to set things up. And then the latter part of the course goes into things like, how am I actually going to attract students by marketing myself as an online teacher? And that is where a lot of teachers struggle, because they want to be able to teach online independently, but they find it difficult to actually bring students into their lessons. And that's what the course is focused on. Now, since I started the course, since I released it, I've added around 10 extra tutorials to it as well. So there are things like how to create videos, how to set up your own website, how to set up an online teaching business in the simplest way possible without worrying about websites and things like that. There's also how to create and sell your own online course. And that means that you can scale your teaching business. So you can create your own course on phrasal verbs, on like TOEFL preparation, anything really, and then have learners sign up to that course, and you can teach them through the videos that you've already created. So the idea of the course is to invite any teacher who wants to do this, whether it's, okay, I want to have a full schedule next week, or I want to make that slow transition over the next year into online teaching, and to show them what they need to do in order to teach these lessons online, but mainly how to market yourself, how to actually get students into your lessons.
And I think it's really important to emphasize that point, Jack, about marketing yourself, because you can go to sites like italki, for example, and you can compete with other teachers all around the world. But my sense is that on websites like italki, then you're competing and bringing the price down. You don't really have a personal brand. You don't really have an online personality that will bring students to you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do know some teachers who do very well on italki, and they charge higher prices. But I think, in the long term, it's risky to build a teaching business on someone else's platform. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of these sites come and go. I've also seen them change their policies. For example, I used to use one called Learnissimo, and I started teaching online through that. And you were able to set your own prices, and I jumped on there very quickly, and I did very well out of it. But then they changed it, and they said, no, we're not going to allow you to do your own prices. There's a set price that everyone has to teach at. And a lot of students left. A lot of teachers left because it was undercutting their current price. But
as long as you're not on your own website, you don't really have 100% control over what's happening. Is that right?
Exactly. And these sites, I encourage teachers to join these sites if they want to bring in students right now. Mm-hmm. Personally, I think it's better to invest your time into your own thing. But again, not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone wants to build their own platform. But those who do, and if you're looking to do this over the long term, I do recommend putting your focus onto your own platform and using your own marketing methods to bring students in, because you own that. You get 100% of the payments. You can have your own prices. You're not competing with other people on platforms where they're looking at, this teacher's cheaper, they have the same reviews. Instead, you're making that connection with a learner through your site, and then you're showing them how you can help them, and then sending them through a process so that they actually get excited and they want to take lessons with you.
So teachers, if you're listening, go to teacherseslonline.com and learn more.
Teaching ESL online. Yeah.
I've heard you say, Jack, that two teachers, that teaching online isn't for everyone. You said in an interview recently, looking into a webcam isn't the same as feeling the energy and the dynamic in the room, which I totally agree with. But what about learners? For students thinking of taking lessons with an online teacher, why should they try it? What's in it for them?
Yeah, the
students.
A lot of people talk about here the ability to learn English at home, and you don't have to go out and about. You don't have to go to a language school. You're able to learn at home. But for me, I think the biggest benefit is this. You're able, as a student, to be taught by anyone in the world. You're able to go out there and find a teacher who is for you, someone who specializes in what you want to learn, someone who you can really connect with. So it opens up the possibility to learn with, any kind of online teacher out there. But also, I actually find it really beneficial in terms of the ability as a learner to use the chat box. Mm-hmm. And also, if you wear earphones, a teacher can really hear, and if the connection's good, can really hear your pronunciation in a very, very clear way. And even better than if you're teaching in a room and, with a class of other students. It's so clear for a teacher who can pick up on your pronunciation. But I actually think the biggest reason is just because you can go out there and find the teacher that's right for you, and you're not restricted by where you live. For some people, that's the only way they can learn if they're living in rural areas. For others, it's just more beneficial.
And of course, they could learn at a time that's convenient to them. They're not restricted to 7 o'clock on a Tuesday and Thursday evening because that's the time their particular level is available at their language academy. They can pretty much log on and learn when they've got the time to study, which is another plus, of course.
Exactly. Yeah, and I guess just one more thing about this too. It's not just about learning with teachers on a one-to-one, let's meet on Skype. I mean, you think about YouTube, and it's obvious, but a lot of people don't understand how much it's actually changed. But learners can go on there and learn in their own time, using YouTube, using online courses, getting feedback on their writing by online teachers, getting speaking feedback where they don't have to meet one-to-one, but they could submit their answers by audio, and then the teacher can correct them for them. There are so many different ways to learn in addition to those one-to-one lessons.
Speaking of YouTube, your YouTube videos, by the way, excellent.
Thank you.
Actually, annoyingly good because, especially the first ones, because what I'd like to do when I like videos, I like to go back to the beginning and see the first 2 or 3 videos that the creator made.
I like to do that.
And yours started off really good. Now, tell me the truth. Did you delete the bad ones?
Which channel are you talking about as well?
The Fluency. To Fluency.
Well, I used to have another channel, JDA English. So
okay, so that's where the bad ones are.
Probably. Yeah. And also, I guess I was one of those people. I actually advise people to do the opposite, but I took a long time before I actually released a video. I practiced, I recorded, I watched it, and I just put it off. Because I was in that mind frame of I just need to create 5 great videos and I'll make it. But yeah, if you go to the JDA English channel, they're not as good. And in fact, even if you just look back at the first ones I made to Fluency, they're very, they're not very, I guess like my voice doesn't come across as confident. It doesn't flow as well. It's a little bit formulaic, it's a little bit like this section and this section and this section.
But I didn't get that. I found them very well planned, very well shot, very well framed, very clear and very precise. So if you are a student, what would you say, Jack? Intermediate and above?
Yeah, definitely.
Go to tofluency.com or obviously the YouTube channel and watch a few of Jack's videos. They're very, very good. I got a voice message recently from a girl from Mexico called Anna, who said, I've got a quote here, "I'm frustrated about my level of English. At interviews, I'm told I need a higher level. This is a typical intermediate student who's struggling to get to advanced or upper intermediate and needs it for work." So Can your course on to fluency help her get to that level?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of the time as well, it can be difficult because if you want English for a specific purpose, for an interview and to get a job, then a lot of people put a lot of time into, okay, let's practice this interview. But there's so much more that you have to work on your general English and your pronunciation and things like that. And a lot of learners will go through these stages where they'll say, okay, I need English. I need to learn English. So they'll go all in. They'll spend hours doing it over the next 2-3 weeks. And then suddenly something will happen and then they'll stop again. And the idea with how I teach is to make it part of your life, make it a priority, but also set up systems so that you can do things in English every day. And then not just do anything, but do things that are going to actually help you improve, to actually make it specific to you as well. And that's what I go through in my videos and everything else that I produce.
So if a student like Anna, for example, intermediate, who wants to increase the level, if they go to tofluency.com, how does it work? Do they sign? Is it a membership site? Do they buy a course from you? How's it structured?
Yeah, so I produce a lot of free videos, probably about 5 or 6 per week on YouTube. A lot of free stuff on Facebook and on Instagram as well. But I also have a course which goes through the best ways to actually use the materials that I produce. So a lot of people will, look at all these resources online and all these lessons, but they're not sure about how to actually use them to learn. And the program that I have, which is called the To Fluency program, it shows learners how to internalize English in a natural way and how to set up systems so that they stay consistent with it. And when people say things like, I understand the grammar rules, but I just can't speak, this is what this course does. It takes away things like grammar rules. And it helps
exactly
you.
The problem with a lot of my Spanish students, that they've got the grammar, but they're struggling to communicate, they're struggling to speak and to understand listening.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the way people grew up learning English, maybe it's not as true now, but in the past, they did it through learning grammar. They didn't have time to practice speaking. They were in groups of 30. And also the pronunciation wasn't taught either. And therefore, people then, when they are, at university or in their 20s, 30s, 40s, etc., they say, oh, I kind of understand the grammar. I understand how to use the present perfect, or understand that there is a present perfect. But a lot of translation goes on, like direct word for word translation from Spanish into English. And the phrases and the natural collocations and phrases and expressions, they're not learned, and they're not used by a lot of Spanish speakers. And therefore, we need to flip this around and to show learners exactly what they should be doing on a daily basis in order to make English more fluent for them and for them to be able to actually use English in a natural way.
So, you're helping teachers at teachingeslonline.com and you're helping students at tofluency.com. How do you divide your time between these two areas? And do you see yourself focusing on one in particular going forward in the future? Or are you going to continue to divide your time equally between the two?
It's such a good question because I guess I've been doing both now for about 3 years or over 3 years. And there is an overlap. And it's very difficult for me to tell teachers how to teach online if I'm not doing it.
Right.
So they both go together. But I guess I go through, I'll spend a morning. Like, for example, this morning, I was doing everything to Fluency. I created a Facebook and Instagram video, and then I went live on YouTube. So I did a live lesson on YouTube to Fluency. And then I spent about half an hour responding to emails from teachers. And now I'm doing this podcast. And then this afternoon, I'm going to do some marketing for online teachers. So, it's just a mixture. And I like it because it mixes things up a little bit.
So that begs the question.
Yeah.
How do you manage your time so well? I mean, with 2 young children as well. Can you give us one productivity tip that you think helps you with such a heavy workload? It seems to me. You seem to be doing everything. You're creating videos. You're podcasting now. You're teaching. You've got these websites to manage.
Yeah, it's difficult. Well, yeah, we just had a second child. She's about 2 months old, and that has brought up a lot of challenges.
Do you outsource anything?
I don't outsource that much. I mean, I've gone through phases of doing this, and I'm always looking at doing it. I'm always thinking about doing it. But it always just comes back to me doing this thing. For example, what I'll do is I'll outsource some kind of artwork for my website. But then because I have the template for it, it takes me 30 seconds to update it. And a lot of people will outsource that. So I just, do that because it's really quick. But I do outsource a lot of the behind the scenes materials, like worksheets for English learners. That's one thing I do. I also outsourced whenever I make a new video for the course and it needs a transcript, that will get outsourced. But in terms of productivity, I think one of the big things is to take what works and try to automate it and scale it. Now, an example of that is I was teaching a lot of these methods for English learners in one-to-one lessons. So when I had a lesson with a learner, I would say, okay, what you need to do, this is one of the methods. Take some original English audio, listen, repeat, record it, and then compare. So what you're doing as a learner, you're listening to your version and the original version, and you're training your ear to notice the difference so that you can make adjustments for your pronunciation.
And trying to improve it a little bit each time to get close to the original pronunciation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was teaching that to students on a one-to-one basis. And then I thought, well, let's put this into a course. Let's create a course about this where I record the video once, and then a learner can buy the course, have access to this training, and then they can learn this without having to meet one-on-one online. So that's a way to automate it. Another way is, for example, with email. So when somebody downloads one of my free guides, they will receive automatically 15, 20 emails that go to them after they sign up. So again, this is like teaching people, giving people information in a way that I can automate and scale.
So all the work comes in the beginning, writing the emails and writing the content, and then that just automatically goes out like kind of drip feeding gradually to periodically to people who have signed up on your list.
That's right. And then I guess, in terms of that is setting deadlines too, because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm too busy to do this, or I don't have time to do it. But if you give yourself a deadline and you really want to do it, you'll find time and you'll get it done and you'll stop procrastinating. And a lot of the time people just waste time procrastinating. So I always set myself deadlines. I'll say things, I have a lot of new projects, and I'll say, okay, I want to release this project. I want to, do this by let's just say, the 16th of December. Therefore, I tell people about this deadline and I'll just find the time to get it done.
My most productive days are usually the day or the 2 days just before I go on holiday, when things have to be done before we leave for the airport. And then that's the deadline that makes me work the hardest.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's the same with everyone. Everyone packs at the last minute. Everyone does their homework the day before it has to go in. All that kind of stuff. Taxes, no one, does that really early. Although I say that, I actually did them really early this year. But I gave myself a deadline to say, okay, I want to do it. So you can actually create these situations where you're giving yourself deadlines, and you can start small with it. And the more you do it, the more you'll respect that deadline as something true.
Are you still creating one video a day? Because I know you set yourself that goal for a while. Are you still doing that?
I did. So I went about 3.5 months doing a video a day.
Wow.
And I'm always stuck in this. I always have this like never quite sure what to do in terms of making videos. And this is talking about marketing here. Whether I want to make 3 videos a week and promote them really well, or do a video every day and stay consistent with it. And it's always that challenge. So I decided to reduce it. I was doing a video a day, and now I'm doing about 5 videos a week. One way to make it easy is to go live. This is a perfect example of a deadline.
Why have you chosen to go live on YouTube and not Facebook Live?
I do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you went YouTube Live and then published it on Facebook.
I sometimes do the opposite as well. So, for example, I'm just looking at my latest videos. I did a live lesson today. I uploaded a video on Saturday, which was a live lesson on Facebook. So I take the live lesson that I did on Facebook and upload it to YouTube. And sometimes I do the opposite. But yeah, it's about thinking about which one. I love both platforms, and I know the ability in going live is a big thing.
So to find those lessons, people should go to Fluency on Facebook, your Facebook page?
Yeah, or you can go, if you just search for To Fluency on Facebook and go down the stream, you'll be able to find them, or on YouTube.
And the same on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is a great example of a deadline, because I got into the office. We had this interview at 11, and I wanted to do a video and get a video out there before we did the interview. And it was 9:30, and I said, okay, I'm going to go live at 10. And it meant that, and I said this on my Facebook page, and I created this event on YouTube, so I had to go live at 10.
Did you have it planned?
No, I actually, it was a lesson based on something that happened this morning. It was really simple, but I ran into a friend this morning, and I thought, oh, that's a great phrasal verb to teach. So I talked about run into, the difference with meet and meet up, and some of the small talk that you have when you run into someone at the supermarket or something like that. So because of this deadline, I just created the lesson really quickly in Keynote and then taught it live. And a lot of it was spontaneous too. So I had the framework, but a lot of it was spontaneous. But that deadline made me do it. It made me actually just create this lesson. And because it's live, you can't put it off. You can't cancel it. You have to do it because you tell people you're going to do it.
That's excellent advice. I'm going to have to start doing that, because there's some kind of law that says the activity you're doing will stretch to the time that you allow for it. Is it Moore's law?
Moore's law. Yeah. Time, it's something like that. Oh, Parkinson's
it's certainly
law,
true with me. Is it Parkinson's? I'll get them confused. But the idea is if you give yourself a day, it will take a day. But if you give yourself an hour, it will take an hour.
Exactly. Yeah. It is Parkinson's law. Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So true.
It is so true. And that's why, with productivity, if going live is great and using Parkinson's law to your advantage and giving yourself these deadlines, it just stops you from procrastinating and putting things off, because we all do it.
Yeah.
We all do it.
I'm definitely going to take that on board and plan tomorrow according to that.
Great.
That piece of advice.
Yeah.
Jack, before we go, because I don't want to take up too much more of your time, have you got time for a few quick fire hot seat questions before you go?
Definitely.
Okay, so 2 or 3 questions, and feel free to answer as short or as long as you wish. What's your favorite Spanish or Latin American dish? Your favorite food? Ooh. From Spain or Latin America?
I'd have to say patatas bravas. I know it's simple.
With the spicy sauce?
With the spicy and because it comes with like mayonnaise and the spicy red sauce, doesn't it? And then yeah, I'd have to say that. I know it's probably really basic, but it was always the thing that we got at tapas restaurants.
Can you tell me something you've changed your mind about recently?
I love these questions. That's a really good one. A lot of things to do with, I guess, America and everyone's presumption about Americans and those types of things. And that's, I guess it's not recently, but it's slowly over the last 6 years, where a lot of people like to see Americans as stupid, and lazy and all those stereotypes. And growing up, you do tend to believe some of that is true, but I love America. I mean, I love living here, and the people I've met and the friends we've made. It's great, and it's so much fun to live here. And the sense of humor as well, with sarcasm. Sometimes it gets lost, but people understand sarcasm a lot here too.
Yeah, it's the irony sometimes that misses when you. I mean, I've visited America a few times, and I love going there. And sometimes I'd crack an ironic joke, and it just wouldn't hit. They don't get irony sometimes.
No, you have to be really intentional about it. That's one thing.
Yeah, and then tell them you're being ironic.
Exactly. It can't be dry.
Right. Yeah. What's the most misunderstood thing about you?
Misunderstood. I don't know. Like maybe that I've got it all figured out, or that
it seems that way to me when I look at your presence online and the way you present yourself online and do stuff. I don't know you very well at all. This is the first time we've spoken, but it does seem to me like you've got it cracked. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I think I've been aware of that. And a lot of the latest live videos I've done for teachers have been more about talking about my journey, the struggles, what I'm thinking about doing next, what I find difficult, because I think it's important to talk about that. I have a lot of experience and knowledge doing this, and therefore I can teach people and be very confident about what I teach. But one thing is, you never stop learning. And as an online teacher and an online marketer and an entrepreneur, you constantly have to keep moving forward. And there are things that I'm thinking about doing and that I'm doubtful about, and thinking about what I'm going to do moving forward. And I haven't got it figured out. But whenever it's in doubt, whenever you have a doubt about that kind of stuff, it's really smart to just do something, if that makes sense, to actually just do what you're thinking about doing. Try it, put it out there, see if you like it, see what response it gets.
And then tweak it and improve it as you go.
Yeah. Because it's not just about, if you're being an online teacher, it's not about teaching that perfect lesson to your student and not starting until your lessons are perfect. It's about getting used to this technology and using it and finding yourself or evolving as a teacher and as a marketer as you actually do these types of things. And I think that's what I want to get across more in my upcoming videos and lessons.
I think as teachers, we've all walked into a classroom and tried certain activities that have flopped, and to flop means not to succeed. Yeah. So to just fall flat on your face and the activity doesn't work for whatever reason, and then you learn and you either change it or you don't repeat it. So perhaps you could apply that also to teaching online. It's just trying stuff to see if it works.
Yeah, and just to test it out and to get used to these platforms. And it's the same, I talked about a niche before. Mm-hmm. And a lot of teachers, they say, I can't teach yet because I don't know who I'm going to teach or how I'm going to teach this. But this is something you can work out as you actually get teaching. As you make connections with learners and you get feedback from them and see what you like, see what they like, see what they respond to. And it's just a constant progression, a constant journey, rather than saying like, okay, this is the best way to teach. I'm going to set up this lesson for the rest of my life, because it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. If you could go back to your late teens, your early 20s, like 10 years ago, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah. I think it would probably be get out your comfort zone. Because in my late teens and early 20s, I was in a group of friends and, very, very close, and we did everything together. And I didn't really travel that much. I didn't go out on my own and explore and make new friends. And yeah, everything was really close, and I stayed in a comfort zone. I didn't really want to test things. And it wasn't till I got out of my comfort zone when I actually went to travel for a year on my own, then I could actually see a path and see where I could actually take things and the potential that I had to, give to the world, and to actually be someone who was successful, at least, working towards something that was successful. So it all started with getting out of my comfort zone. And that's the same, for learners. Getting out of your comfort zone, you're going to learn so much more. And it's something I remind myself all the time.
Well, you're setting an example not only for students, but also for us teachers to actually go out there and try things online and experiment and get outside your comfort zone, not only to improve yourself as a teacher, but to see what other possibilities are out there for us to find online. Jack, thank you very much for your time. It's been a lot of fun. So teachingeslonline.com is the site for teachers to go to.
That's right.
And tofluency.com for students. Are there any other places that you'd like to send people to get in touch with you or to see your stuff?
Those two places are great. And I guess to see my latest stuff, and especially the stuff that I work on a lot that is out in the public, is the To Fluency channel, YouTube channel. It's where I spend a lot of time. So that's probably youtube.com/tofluency.
Oh, and there's the free book, the 5-step plan. Where can people get your free book?
Yeah, tofluency.com/book. And this can be applied for anyone who wants to achieve something. So it's not just for English learners, but in fact, I've had people who've read the book and taken the course and said, it's not just changed my English, but it's changed everything. Because it shows you how to set goals, to understand why these goals are important, to understand the process, and then how to actually achieve things. And I use this plan all the time with myself.
Excellent. So, inglespodcast.com/Jack, Jack, for all the links from this interview. Thank you for listening, and thank you to you, Jack. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you for listening to this Mansion interview. You can find more podcasts to improve your English at inglespodcast.com. And you can study English free at mansioningles.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes and give us some stars and some iTunes love so that more people can find our podcasts. Thank you.